Imagine being able to have your arguments and upsets actually strengthen your relationships, all of them, instead of destroying them. Our next guest says she has tools to help you do just that. She's been a relationship expert, coach, and consultant for over 30 years, and she's the author of Trusting You Are Loved, Practices for Partnership. Welcome, Francine Epstein.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I want to hear how arguments and upsets can strengthen your relationship.
Well, you know, first you want to start with the fact that I feel that there's a myth about arguments and upsets. People think that arguments and upsets mean that your relationship's not working. Well, that's just not the case. So as a result, they try to avoid them. The problem with that is it leads to what I call the destructive cycle of relationship. You know, something happens, you get upset, but you don't say anything.
Right. You just stuff it inside.
You just sort of, well, you know, it wasn't that important, or this is only the first time, but you get a little angry and resentful. And the next thing you know, something else happens, and you get upset, and you don't say anything. Before you know it, you are caught in this cycle, and it's really destructive.
Because it builds and it builds and it builds.
Right. And really, the key is recovery.
Yeah. Well, how do you recover? I mean, if let's say you've let the anger out, you've had harsh words with each other, how do you then recover from those harsh words and feel loving again?
Well, obviously, it is communication. Because you get in that cycle because you haven't said anything. Right. But the problem is, when you do communicate, usually what happens is, you know, people will say to me, well, I communicated and it still didn't work. You know, because the way we've learned to communicate, especially when we're upset, is not necessarily the most effective way and doesn't produce the result that we want. So that's why I have, in my workshop, I teach 10 tools for, you know, they're really practices for how to create powerful partnerships. But they make up what I call the tools for recovery.
Well, we're going to do the top 5 tools, and the first one I know you say is speak from the heart.
Well, definitely. In order to get out of, you can't just say anything. You really need to speak honestly and genuinely. So you need to speak from your heart and learn how to listen with compassion.
Which is the second.
Yeah, so not just listening anyway. Listen with compassion, authentically apologize, forgiveness of each other, and trusting you are loved. Now, that's combined with the willingness to set aside, really surrender the need to be right.
Well, can I ask you to back up and explain one of those a little bit more in more detail? Trusting you are loved. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, people think that means trusting that your partner loves you.
Yeah.
And it actually doesn't. It really is more about your relationship with yourself and trusting that you're okay. And when you do, it actually affects the way you listen. It affects what you hear. Because otherwise, we take things personally, and we hear everything as accusation.
So you become immediately defensive.
Exactly. And then the kind of interaction that we have can be destructive.
Don't you think sometimes couples forget they're supposed to be on the same team? You know, they got into this marriage, and I think after the honeymoon passes, then you're on opposite. See, you can be.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, people that have lived together for many years often feel like they're living with the enemy.
Right.
Which, I mean, I think is really unfortunate and shouldn't be. It's so unnecessary.
Right.
I know one of your big bits of advice is that it's more important to focus on the quality of the relationship than on being right.
Yeah, exactly, because that ability, you know, we all want to be right. Yeah. I think we have this wiring within us that, you know, we all need to be right. And the difficulty with that is, you know, it really takes us down the tubes. But we even think that who's right in a relationship is really important. So therefore, we'll fight over who's right.
Well, when you're fighting, it feels important to be right.
Well, absolutely. Well, because you are right.
Yeah, you're right.
And you are right.
And the longer the argument goes on, the more
right you get.
And this applies not just to couples relationships.
With anybody. Yeah, we will argue with anybody about being right, because we know we're right. Now, the irony of it is, usually, we're both right. So there isn't any resolution called who, like there really is one right. So that's why what I say is, if I can leave you with any one thing, it is you really need to have your commitment to the quality of your relationship be greater than your commitment to being right.
And you teach this in your workshops as well.
Absolutely.
Well, Francine actually has a Trusting You Are Loved workshop coming up at the Holiday Inn Express at Fisherman's Wharf right here in San Francisco. That's January 25th, 26th, and 27th. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So to sign up or to purchase a copy of her book, you just check our website. And we didn't even get to cover all of your 10 bits of advice there, but everything is listed on our website. You can get all of her wise counsel right there.
Thank you
really
so much.
Appreciate it,
I bet these
Francine.
workshops are a lot of fun.
Oh, they're fabulous. They really are. And very valuable for everybody, not just couples,
Right.
but for children and parents and friends and everybody.
Thank you so much.
Improve your relationship. Go check it out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, learn to spend your money wisely. Sound financial tips coming up next.
Guests of the